Hey there, coffee breakers. Welcome to the best virtual coffee shop in America. My name is Carlos Michael, your host and humble servant, I might add. Welcome to Coffee Break with Carlos Michael. Let's coffee break. David J. of somewhere in Southern California asked via email, "Hey Carlos, how are the rebranding efforts going?" Thanks for asking, David. Regarding your question, the jury is still out, but I will share some feedback emails I have received if this is any indication. EC of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma stated that I should hire a younger, better looking host. Well, EC, if you're willing to pay their salary, I will be happy to accommodate your request. By the way, if you're going to do that, throw in some extra money so I can get a real studio as well. David of Little Rock, Arkansas said this, not his real name. "I love the new look and color combination. You have truly taken the show in a new direction. Just one thing. Can you make it feel, if possible, like a group of friends who are really gathered at a coffee shop rather than a scripted sitcom?" That is too funny, DD. I appreciate the feedback. Glad you like the new logo, look, and colors associated with the rebranding. You did not mention it, but which name do you like better, or did you prefer Carlos Michael Communications Media or the Carlos Michael Studio? Now, to the second part of your question, can I make this feel like a group of friends gathered at a coffee shop rather than a scripted sitcom? Let me get back to you on that, but I'm going to see what I can do, okay? CH of Azusa, California wrote the following. "How is it that you are 63 years old but look younger than 63? Seriously?" Thanks for the compliment, CH. I've heard that before. My mother used to hear that too. Let's just chalk it up to darn good parental genes because it isn't anything that I did on my own. And finally, this comment from CM of San Diego, California. "Dude, you really need to lose weight." Hey, you're right. I'm working on it. Okay, let's move on to page 2. One of the lessons learned from some of the other feedback I've received is twofold. One, and I'm going to use that word a second time, twofold. One, keep the show entertaining, right? And two, don't be long-winded. Now that's really good advice because I tend to be that way sometimes. So let's just see what I can do with respect to today's show. Okay, so for the record, I guess you can think of this as a disclaimer, okay? I do use artificial intelligence to help put this show together, primarily because I have run out of me topics to talk about. After all, I have been doing this show since 2016, and besides, who wants to hear about me all the time? Boring. Okay, so just know that AI isn't always accurate, and as with the internet, can be incorrect or erroneous. What? It happens. What I share is for entertainment purposes and should not be used for any other purpose, okay? While I do my best to fact check the accuracy of what I share on the show, being human that I am, I oftentimes miss things. Heck, you should see when I write. Were it not for my friends acting as my personal editors, I would be in a world of hurt. As with anything, do your homework and never do anything without consulting with a professional, especially in areas related to finances, health, business, education, faith, etc. I also use AI to assist with graphics, illustrations, short video presentations, etc. The same logic applies to these mediums as well. The AI doesn't always get it right, and the images may be subject to the artist's interpretation. One last point. The opinions expressed or information shared on this show may or may not be the view of the host and in no way speak for or represent the views or opinions or beliefs of our listeners. Okay? Dang, that took up a lot of time. Okay, let's move on to page 3. Hello again, and welcome to page 3. Michael R. of Covina, California asked the following question. Carlos, could you share a memorable experience from your teenage years during the 1970s that was difficult for you? Wow, great question. Tough one to answer, I think. Let's see. I don't know if I would call this necessarily memorable, Michael. I would have to say 1974, when I admitted to my best friend at the time that I thought there was something wrong with me because I realized that I was, how do I say this? Same-sex attracted. That went against everything I was raised to believe at the time. The trauma from that experience was, well, let's just say very unsettling. But thank God I survived it and moved on. Which brings me to this short story that the AI bot assisted me with writing. My contribution was feeding it the prompt and tweaking it to fit the situation. Here we go. In the summer of 1974, the air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers and freshly cut grass in the small town of Maplewood. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where secrets were hard to keep, and where faith and family values were the pillars of the community. James, a teenager of 14, walked along the quiet streets, his mind racing with thoughts he could no longer ignore. He had always been a diligent student, a good friend to others, and deeply in love with God through his faith as a Roman Catholic. But something had changed inside him, something he feared would shatter the image others had of him. Weeks had passed since James realized he was different. He had tried to suppress the feelings, praying fervently each night for them to disappear. However, those feelings persisted and grew stronger with each passing day. He was same-sex attracted, not the word used back then, and it terrified him. How could he reconcile this with his faith, with his family's expectations, with his love of God, with the teachings he had grown up with? The only person James felt he could confide in was his best friend, Tom. They had been inseparable since childhood, sharing everything from secrets to summer vacations. Except this. This secret was different. It was a burden James wasn't sure he could share, yet he knew he had to. The weight of it was too much to bear alone. One evening, James and Tom sat on the old wooden bench near the town's lake, the setting sun casting a golden glow over the water. They talked about everything and nothing, as they usually did, until James could no longer hold back. Tom, he said, hesitantly, of course, his voice barely above a whisper, there's something I need to tell you. It's been eating me up inside. Tom turned to his friend, concern etched on his face. What's going on, James? You know you can tell me anything, he said with that big Tom-like smile. James took a deep breath, the words catching in his throat. I think there's something wrong with me. I've been feeling different. I'm attracted to guys. The silence that followed was deafening. James could hear his heart pounding in his chest. He felt the cold sweat on his brow. He watched Tom's expression closely, fearing the worst. Tom remained silent for a moment, processing what he had just heard. Finally, he spoke up, his voice steady and calm. James, you're my best friend, and nothing will ever change that. I'm here for you no matter what. Maybe what you think you are, who you really are, has something to do with you. Maybe not. Maybe it has something to do with something else. Let's go to the library tomorrow and do some research. I once heard that this happens to some boys at a certain age, but disappears when they get older. James felt a wave of relief wash over him, but the fear and uncertainty still lingered. But what about my family, my faith, everything I've been taught? It goes against all of that. What if they find out? Tom placed a reassuring hand on James's shoulder. We'll figure it out together. You're not alone in this. And as for your family and faith, it's a part of who you are, but it doesn't define you entirely. Neither does this. You're still James, the guy I have always known and the friend that I love. James nodded, grateful for his friend's support. But deep down, he knew the road ahead would be difficult. The trauma of reconciling his identity with his beliefs and the fear of rejection from his family loomed large. Yet in the moment, he found solace in the fact that he had taken that first step toward acceptance, which Tom said was not the same as acting on who he is. As the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the lake in twilight, James and Tom sat in companionable silence, their friendship stronger than ever. For James, the journey was just beginning, but he was no longer walking it alone. This was my experience in 1974, except that my best friend's name was not Tom. I cannot begin to tell you how this messed me up inside. My biggest fear being twofold, there's that word again. One, what would happen if my family learned this secret? And two, what happens to my relationship with God? The latter question was more important to me at the time, probably still is, than the former, because I have always believed in and loved God since age 3 or 4, and I have always accepted that my love for him must come first, ahead of everything else. Second, my best friend and I did visit the library, not just the next day, but for several days. We poured through book after book until he found that one book written by a psychologist who said that what I was experiencing was normal and generally dissipates by the age of 21. When I read that, I was relieved knowing that I would not have to carry the weight of this situation for the rest of my life. If I could just make it to age 21 without anyone else learning the secret, everything was going to be okay. Imagine how much worse it became when I turned 21 and it did not go away. But that's a story for another time. The point of this segment is not to share my story, but to emphasize the importance of friendship and why trying to go through something that major alone is not the best course of action to take. We need each other, and that starts with us being better neighbors and friends to those who come into our lives, including our first neighbors, which is our family. But here's something that I learned through all of that. You also need to be a friend to yourself. Thanks for the question, Michael. Well, that's it for today's episode. If you're staying to listen to the bonus topic, Paying It Forward, then I will see you following the credits. If you're leaving us here, thanks for stopping by. Remember to love God with all your everything and to be a great neighbor, because great is always better than what? Good. All right. Until next time. Talking about being 25 years late to the party, I had the opportunity to watch the film Pay It Forward on Sunday evening. According to the AI bot, Pay It Forward is a heartwarming drama film that was released in 2000. It was directed by Mimi Leder and starred Helen Hunt, Kevin Spacey, John Bon Jovi, and Haley Joel Osment. The movie centers around a young boy named Trevor McKinney, played by Osment, who, inspired by a school assignment given by his social studies teacher, Mr. Simonette, played by Spacey, comes up with an idea to change the world through acts of kindness. Imagine that. Trevor's concept, called Pay It Forward, involves doing a good deed for 3 people and asking them to pay it forward by doing good deeds for 3 others in turn. The idea catches on, leading to a wave of kindness that spreads across the community and beyond. The film explores themes of altruism, hope, and the impact of individual actions on society. Pay It Forward received mixed reviews from critics, but has since become a beloved film for its inspirational message and performances by the lead actors. And kudos and credit to my son Josh, who mentioned this movie to me and suggested that I watch it. He was so spot on. Okay, so before you ask, what is altruism? Altruism is the selfless concern for the well-being of others. Imagine that, often resulting in acts of kindness without expecting any form of reward or recognition in return. It is a fundamental aspect of human behavior that promotes social cohesion and compassion. What are some examples of altruism? Well, a person donating blood to help save the life of a stranger, volunteering time at a local food bank to support those in need, helping a neighbor with their groceries without expecting anything in return, donating money to a charity supporting underprivileged communities, mentoring, something I want to do, a less experienced colleague to help them advance in their career. According to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, altruism can be found in various forms across different cultures and societies. The parable of the Good Samaritan comes to mind, reinforcing the idea that humans have an inherent capacity for empathy and generosity. I believe it, even in today's culture. Doesn't seem like it's there, but I think it is. We just need to make it more out there, okay? My impression of this film, superb acting. Love Helen Hunt. The characters and plot drew me in. The scene near the end caught me by surprise. The ending blew my mind away. Young Haley Joel did not disappoint. Okay, so what does it mean to pay it forward? According to the Bryant and Stratton College website, in an article titled Defining Pay It Forward, what does it mean? Dated December 8th, 2020, posted by the B&SC blog team. Here's what they say. The simplest way to define pay it forward is that when someone does something for you, instead of paying that person back directly, you pass it on to another person. One of the easiest examples of this is buying a cup of coffee for the person in line behind you at the coffee shop, and then they buy a cup of coffee for the person that is behind them, and so on. The first time I heard the term pay it forward was in 2004 while on a weekend retreat in Philadelphia, or was it in 2005 at a follow-up weekend retreat in Baltimore, Maryland? I don't recall. That was quite a while ago. What I do remember is that I didn't have enough funds to make it to one of the weekend retreats when one of the participants said, "I'm going to pay your way, Carlos. We just want you there." When I asked this friend how he wanted me to pay him back, he said, "Don't pay me a dime. Pay it forward." That was when he used that word, those 3 words. He said, "Do something kind for someone else, which I know comes natural for you." Watching this film brought that conversation back to mind and got me to thinking, yes, I have paid it forward since that time and then some, but have I done enough is what I was asking myself, because that was more important, okay? So we'll get back to that in a moment. But according to Google AI, there it is again, paying it forward is the idea of doing a kind deed for someone else instead of returning a favor. It's a way to keep kindness flowing and to promote empathy and compassion. You know what empathy is, right? It's when we put ourselves in the shoes of another person to try and understand what they're going through. Look it up. It's a good word. How does it work? Paying it forward. Someone does a kind deed for you. Instead of paying them back directly, you pass the kindness on to someone else. The person you help is encouraged to do the same thing for someone else. Okay, so what are the benefits of paying it forward? Well, according to Google, paying it forward can help create a chain of kindness. I love that spreads throughout a community. Practicing kindness can lead to greater happiness, stronger social connections, and improved mental and physical health. By making a positive impact through paying it forward, we make the world a better place. We need to do that at church too. Some examples of paying it forward include paying for a stranger's meal or that cup of coffee, helping an older neighbor get to the grocery store or just out of their chair, being a mentor for someone in need, giving compliments, or something as simple as, imagine this, praying for someone in need. Getting back to the question, have I done enough? As far as I'm concerned, we are never done doing enough. There is always someone somewhere out there, sounds like that song from An American Tale, who would benefit from paying it forward, who in turn will do the same. And like the old shampoo commercial used to say, and so on and so on and so on. So I'm ready to pay it forward again and again and again. Are you? Until next time, God bless.